Broadcasting from the Red Bed Plains, you are now listening to Through the Prairie Smoke.
Blow on, make sure that it's all even.
Are you sure you're supposed to blow on it? I've never seen Wolverine blow on his cigar.
I mean, you can live on the edge if you want.
So we're smoking the same thing tonight.
Yep. So this is a Dunbarton Stillwell Star, and there's a few different ones. And what makes them special is that they have pipe tobacco in the filler. So the ones we are smoking right now are the holiday editions. I do have the 23s, and I just got the 24s in the mail the other day. But the 24 is the exact same as the 23s. It just re-released it. He releases the holiday ones, obviously, around Christmas time.
So we got some holiday cigars here. Why are we smoking holiday cigars?
You know why.
It's our special holiday episode.
Yeah. Christmas time comes once a year. Is that a song?
I think it's probably a fair use version of a popular song. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm known around my family and group of friends not being the biggest lover of Christmas, but it's a Christmas special.
It can be a holiday special.
Yeah.
Reading weird fiction like H.P. Lovecraft, all of the big events in Arkham happen around the solstice, you know?
Yep.
It's a big deal.
Yes.
And then, you know, I like to think really deeply and romantically about the passage of time and the symbolic death of the world.
Oh, man.
And then the rebirth in spring. But, you know, here's this big celebration, and we're all going to get together, and we're going to celebrate the harvest, and this stuff's going to spoil. So, you know, we better cook it now and enjoy it while we got a surplus, and then we'll suffer for 3 months. And hopefully we'll see you in the spring. Best of luck, everybody.
See you on the other side.
Yeah.
So the winter solstice, December 21st.
It's the longest night.
It's also believed to be when the veil is at its thinnest.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I don't know if it's just me being in America, but I always heard that to be Halloween.
Sure.
But like me and you were talking the other day, I kind of threw that at you, and you were like, well, I mean, it's pretty close. So, you know.
It is pretty close. And, you know, I have been thinking about that all day long today. And I've been thinking in America, it was Day of the Dead's coming up. And so it was just like a culture the land already kind of had when the Westerners showed up.
Another big thing with the winter solstice is kind of what you were touching base on with when you were talking about Lovecraft. And that is the big hunt.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the big hunt, Tyler?
So this is going to make me sound like a crazy person, but that's why we do this podcast.
Yep.
But the big hunt or the wild hunt, this is an old myth, an old story from several cultures. The most well-known ones are probably the Germanic ones. So anyway, the wild hunt, there's typically a special figure who is leading the hunt, and this takes place in the sky. Sometimes it's Odin, depending on the culture, but there is a leader, perhaps in a chariot or some sort of vehicle, leading the hunt. And then there are hunters behind him, and the hunters are potentially souls or sometimes fairies or elves or things like that. And that progresses across the sky, potentially during the solstice. And I know about this because when you look for UFO lore throughout history, you're just looking for any lights in the sky stories. And the wild hunt or the great hunt is a lights in the sky story.
So when I was reading on it, on the generic side of things, in most of the stories, an army of ghostly figures of some sort. It could be animals. It could be, like you said, all those. And it's usually led by a certain god. So, you know, just like what you're saying, I'm simplifying it. But the reason I'm simplifying it is when I'm reading this and I'm thinking, just like you're saying, I'm looking at the sky and I'm seeing like this god, and he's leading his army, and they're on the hunt, they're on the chase.
Yeah.
man, what are they chasing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, all the stuff I was reading, it's like, it never would answer my question. And then I just felt like this may be one of those moments where it's a straight up Dustin moment.
No.
Where I'm just like, is that a stupid question?
No, it's supposed to be ambiguous because it's all highly symbolic. So the meaning is both personal and shared, you know.
Kind of like what you just said. They believed it to be usually an omen of a war to come.
Sure.
So that kind of answered my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so think about that symbolically as well. The longest night of the year. So it is the symbolic death of the sun. And there's, you know, that period where you could get anxious every year. Is it going to come back around? You know, is spring or summer ever going to happen again? Of course, you know, but
yeah, but man, if you were living at those times where you're just like, dude, is it really coming back?
Yeah. You know, you're like 9 years old, starting a family on your own, you know, in the woods.
We don't have enough coffee.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be freaking out about. We need bread.
Yeah.
We have got to go get bread.
Milk and eggs.
Milk
and
eggs
toilet paper
and bread.
right
and toilet
now.
Paper, yes.
It's the solstice. Buy your toilet paper.
Okay, so why we're talking about the winter solstice, one of the big things that will come later on here in the episode is
the preview.
Good old ghost story.
Yeah.
And it almost, I'm not going to say that it originated from the winter solstice, but it has close ties to the winter solstice because of the longest night.
Mm-hmm. The veil is thin.
The veil is thin. I even heard or read, not heard, but I read things where like one reason people would tell ghost stories together is because it's cold and dark, but it would also like the fear in your heart rate would go up.
Yeah.
And so you start to warm up kind of internal, you know, just from the fear factors. I thought that was interesting.
You emailed me this outline, and that is the best part of this outline. Mm-hmm. Like that theory. It's like they told ghost stories because they were cold.
Yeah. We're cold. Scare me, Fred.
Somebody scare me.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Oh, man. So there's some other stuff that is really cool that I read about and came across and kind of knew about some of it, but learned some stuff, too, along the way.
What a great hobby.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, dude. My favorite time is the Victorian age.
We've talked about this.
Good old Queen Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband was German. He brought some of his traditions from his side.
Yeah.
And one of those was Christmas trees.
Okay.
I'm not saying that she is what started Christmas trees. I'm saying that he brought that tradition and then it spread into a different region and culture. So
he may not have been the first person to do that, but he was definitely the famous person to do that.
Yes. Yeah. But Queen Vicky was loving herself some Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Really, with those traditions, it spread like wildfire during her reign.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was trying to find, like, oddities to go with our show, you know?
Uh-huh.
And we're not going to go any further talking about stockings and you know, presents under the tree and stuff. Unless Tyler wants to.
I may talk about that
Yeah,
stuff.
Tyler might, but I'm not. Would you like to talk about some of that stuff right now?
If it comes up, we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, one oddity, Christmas cards.
Oh, yes.
Christmas greeting cards.
Yep.
Or holiday greeting cards.
Yep.
So,
full disclosure, my dad has a Hallmark store. Okay.
Right?
This is not a plug, but...
Is he listening?
I doubt it.
Dennis, are you listening? Hello? Anyways, let's get a little history on the cards.
Yeah, let's talk about the cards.
During the Industrial Revolution, they had come out with the steam-powered printing press.
Absolutely.
And when this came about, the idea awoke and was like, hey...
Wouldn't it be a neat little thing?
Wouldn't it be cool to print like this little thing? But In 1843, Henry Cole commissioned the first artist, or not the first artist, the first artist in the world. No, he commissioned a artist for the first greeting card.
Okay. Do we know who the artist is?
I do not.
So it's interesting that we know who commissioned it.
You know, yeah, you get
that guy's basically
that guy.
AI.
Right. So that kind of began this whole thing, was the printing press, and Henry Cole's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? I'm going to get an artist on board.
Yeah.
We're not going to give him a name, and then we're going to take credit for it. Anyways,
that's right. Sell it.
The oddity of this card, though, because you're probably, if you
What did it
don't
say?
know,
Merry Christmas?
and you're sitting at home and listening, and you're like,
Joy to the world.
and guys, what's so odd about that? The odd thing is first off, the Victorian age, the Victorians were strange anyways.
Oh, yeah. Well, they were obsessed with death.
Everything about it. So for some weird reason, there was a weird theme that went across with artwork on these greeting cards. From like dead birds to frogs dancing with beetles.
Cool.
Sometimes there would be like there's this one card, and I think I have it in the little collection that we will post on the old Insta.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was funny. It's this guy, and he's in his old snow gear, and he's walking through the snow, and then on the other side of the shack or whatever is this like snow demon looking thing, and he has a bat, and it's like he's about to like bash this guy's head in.
Oh, like for baseball.
Yeah, it's a club. It's
Okay,
not a
yeah.
It's not like it's a club. He's going to bash this guy. It's like he's waiting for the guy to go around so he can bash him with this snow club.
Wow.
I also saw another Christmas card that had a frog stabbing another frog and he was dressed like a burglar, and he was mugging this frog. Like the frog was dead on the ground with a knife, and there's blood, and this frog is running off with like the purse or wallet or whatever. And then underneath it says Happy Holidays.
Doesn't say Joy to the world.
Or Happy New Year's or something like that. I was just like, so these cards were wacky, man, like odd and just right up my alley. I was loving it. So do yourself a favor if you are like me and Tyler and you like that weird avenue. Just look up vintage Victorian Christmas cards. You will not be disappointed. And there's tons of them out there. They like to use insects. They like to use animals. So you would see mice. A lot of times birds, like I had already mentioned.
So, and you mentioned dead birds specifically, and I'm sitting here thinking about that, and I'm thinking, what is prestigious at this time? And if you were to go into someone who was well-to-do during the time, what would they have a collection of? If it was birds, they would be dead. If it was bugs, they would be dead. And they would be these displays. Like, that was something people did, right? They had, my house is full of, I've got frame bugs in my house. I don't know. I just think the cabinet of nature curiosities would be something well-to-do Victorians would have.
The dead bird cards that I would see were straight up a bird on its back with its feet up, and there might be like a mistletoe painted next to it or something. Yeah. And then underneath it would literally just say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or Happy New Year to come or something. And I'm just like,
it's so strange.
This is so weird. Like, it's not like it's pinned up or posed. Right. I'm talking about it's just straight up dead.
Well, sometimes you go to even now, a natural history museum, and you will pull open a drawer, and there's like, here's a drawer of these these finches. You know.
Well, so there was a story that in some villages or towns or whatever, but around that time, young boys were known to march the streets with sticks with dead wrens on the stick. And they would go up to doors and ask for money and for food. And it was something to do with, like, I didn't really get into that rabbit hole. I didn't go down it, but it was something to do with fertility. So I guess that explains why it's young men. I don't know what the birds symbolize.
Yeah.
So there's a whole little hole that you can go down.
I'm going to have to jump down that.
And
Yeah.
I didn't go down that. I ran across that when I was like, why is there dead birds on these cards?
Yeah.
So it may have
I'm on the
something
wrong
to
track.
do with that. Do what?
I'm probably on the wrong track then. But it's interesting to think about.
Well, no,
regardless.
I think everybody is entitled to their theories and opinions.
Well, sure, but I need more information to be more accurate.
Yeah, sure.
But it's fun to think about.
Yep. I mean, I just throw theories out, Tyler.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
Well,
Like,
and I'm not trying to
like,
start a cult or anything.
I don't need stuff to back it up. I've talked about alien coyotes.
Yeah.
I've talked about
Yeah.
antique dealing aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Big chickens.
Uh-huh.
Hey, that theory is really good.
Are you in possession of any of these cards?
I actually am not. I do have a couple. Now, this is just because Amber has collected these. We do have vintage Halloween cards,
Okay.
but we don't have any Christmas.
Yeah.
But like I say, I'm not the biggest Christmas fan.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you this. From now on, because we go antique shopping all the time, if I run across Christmas cards that are vintage, oh, you better believe I'm picking those bad
Yeah.
boys up.
What-
So,
Is the sky's the limit? What's your
Yeah.
budget for a Christmas card? I'm kidding. You don't have to tell me.
man, I don't think I'd go like, I don't know, man. $100 would be pushing it, but I'm sure they're probably, I don't know. I'm sure there's
I've
some,
never shopped for
I'm
them.
sure
I
there's
don't
some
know.
rare ones out there.
Sure.
Some of those cards even had like dancing vegetables. And then they would mix them with like insects.
Well,
Or they would mix them with,
what's VeggieTales, dude?
it's just, dude, it is so bizarre, but so awesome.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they did catch on like wildfire because of the printing press. And that's also why another reason they say ghost stories fired up being told around Christmas time.
Because of the printing press?
They could start printing. They were more accessible.
Sure.
And then these authors like jumped on that. They were
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
man, this is good. But we'll get into that. But finishing up the card thing, at the beginning, it was, they were expensive.
Yeah.
And so the more well-off were really the only ones at the time using them. Then in 1870, the prices had dropped. They became more affordable for people due to the half-penny postage.
Okay.
And so when this came around, then they really caught on because now everybody could do this. This was an interesting fact that I came across. In 1880, that year alone, there was 11.5 million greeting cards printed that year and sold.
Printed and sold.
So when I say it caught on like wildfire,
Yeah.
it caught on like a wildfire.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when the half penny postage came, and then also like not just the postage, but also the printing prices had went down. That's when these Christmas or these ghost stories are starting to be printed,
Right.
And so they're more accessible to
The average person.
The average person.
I just like how you're doing the talking, and I'm just sitting over here thinking about stuff. But I'm thinking about the business aspect of the printing press and being like, cool, look at this machine. Look at what we can do with it. Oh, how do we sell something to people?
How do we pay for this machine?
Yeah. Oh.
Is what I would be thinking.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
yeah.
Like, we need to find people with money. What do they want to do? They want to brag about their money at Christmas time. Let's print
Yeah.
Christmas cards.
Heck yeah. Yep.
No, I don't know.
Yep.
But,
I'm with you, man.
They became accessible. This is not criticism to people who send Christmas cards currently.
Oh no. Well, it's a whole different game now. But
Yeah. I did buy a box. I buy a box of Christmas cards every year just in case. I think I'm going to send out Christmas cards. I do have a really neat wax seal that I'd like to use. You may
yeah,
get a
that'd be
Christmas
cool.
card.
Yeah. There's a certain mutual friend that we have.
Yeah.
That sends cards every once in a while and uses a really cool wax seal on the back, and I think that's great.
It's so cool. Stationery is so cool.
And then you don't want to throw it away because you're like, man, this is so cool. Another interesting thing that was and is still going on this year is they do scientific lectures. And this was a thing where people would go to these demonstrations or these lectures on Christmas Day. That was just one of the things you could do, one of the events. It started from a guy named Michael Faraday. But, 1825. That's when these demonstrations would and lectures caught on for some reason.
1825? Huh.
And they are known to be more like, you know, you have your serious lectures and you know, whether it be medical or chemistry or something.
Yeah.
But these would be more like your fun science project stuff that we still see today where science teachers are blowing shit up in the classroom and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Do you know who Michael Faraday is?
No, I came across that and that was really the only note I took. So I'm just going to throw it out there that, hey, they do lectures. So you can look for those on Christmas Day if you want.
Yeah. And you say it continues.
What I was reading, it says that they still do it today.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually not here in America. It's
yeah, I would say this is typically...
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that I am talking about right now would be more you're in England.
Yeah.
You know, in that region.
Okay.
So,
yeah, Michael Faraday contributed a lot to electromagnetism and electrochemistry. That's how I knew the name. And I was like, is that the same guy? Because I was thinking of a Faraday cage, which has to do with
yeah,
electromagnetism. So
I get you.
Also, Dr. Faraday is one of the lead scientists in the movie Flight of the Navigator, which is an important film for me. But, you know.
You looked across at me like, and the way you said it was just like, well, it's important to me.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie?
Like I crushed your dreams or something by the look I gave her. Flight of the Navigator?
Yeah. I can't remember the kid's name, but Paul Rubens is the ship. This kid gets abducted by a UFO.
Oh, okay.
And then dropped off. And when he's dropped off, it's 7 years later. His parents have moved. His brother's grown up. And
he's on the back of milk cartons?
Well, yeah, he's been missing, but he didn't age. Everybody else aged, and he didn't.
Oh, so he's still...
And at this time, this UFO had crashed, and it was acquired by the government.
Is it in fact the UFO that he was abducted on?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great movie. It's a Disney movie. Part of the Flight of the Navigator is he's got to urinate, so he makes the ship land, so he goes out and pees on a bush. And the ship is like, what are you doing? Because the ship is like this artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay. So I'm saying, because I have not seen this movie, but in my head I'm thinking of actual aliens driving this saucer.
No, it's a ship.
And
that
he's
is
like,
an AI.
hey, I gotta go to the bathroom. And the aliens are sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, we only made it 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
Like,
the AI,
on.
of course, has no idea what that means. So, you know, kids like, let me out or you'll be sorry, you know. But then later, the reason he's got to find this kid is because as a test, he implanted all these star charts into the kid's brain. And then he crashed and hit some power lines and his data banks were wiped. So he's got to get back with the kid to get the star charts out of his head. And they do that at the bottom of the ocean. So they're in this ship at the bottom of the ocean. The ship scans the star charts out of the kid's head, but also gets like some of the kid's memories and develops some of the kid's personalities. So that's when the movie really gets interesting, because it's like the AI is more human.
Why have I never watched this movie?
I don't know, man. You totally should. It's great. Anyway,
we're gonna have to have a movie night.
Yeah.
Nope.
Flight of the Navigator.
Yep.
But anyway, the kid's like, does this thing leak? When they're under the water. And the ship's like, I do not leak. You leak, remember? Just like, It's really funny. And it could be a urination joke, but it could also be when he was explaining the process, his brain could not retain all the information in the star charts. It did a lot of it, but his brain leaked. So it could be brain leakage, or it could be...
I like to think that it's the
urination.
The urination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidetrack.
No, that's interesting, and I'm surprised I've never seen that movie.
No kidding.
Especially being your friend, that you haven't forced that upon me.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. Mm-hmm. No, it does sound pretty cool.
Back to what we're actually talking about.
We have. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah.
We have these lectures going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw this small little thing out there. We don't need to go into studies or anything.
Are you telling me not to?
On one of the lists, no, you can if you want.
Okay.
On one of the lists of Christmas traditions that I had read, on one of them it said that I guess a lot of them would like to go to a cattle show, basically.
Okay.
Like a cattle auction.
Yeah.
And so... Don't ask me.
You go to the Christmas cattle auction?
Christmas cattle auction.
You know, I made this joke when we were talking about this the other night. Like, what else do these people have to do? Like, these people are bored as hell.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, yeah, let's go to the cattle auction. Beats sitting here, sitting in this parlor.
Staring at this candle.
The same 3 horses go by every day by this window. And, I'm pointing out how terrible their life is. I'm kidding. Their life is fine, I'm sure.
No, but
standards.
You have a good point, and that also leads into our next little thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're bored,
mm-hmm.
and it's Christmas time, and the whole family's together, like even freaking Uncle Bob and Aunt Sally come over, and then you got...
Those are very Victorian names.
Right. So, I mean, they come over, so you're like... What are we going to do for entertainment? Like, we don't have a... They don't know what a TV is.
Yeah, we don't have Jackbox.
They don't have TVs. They don't have radios or anything at the moment.
They're not playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, definitely not playing those games. So what do? They come up with games on their own. Yeah. We see these lists of, toys that were around the time that we were growing up. And then they get banned because they are not safe for kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did that fly?
Well, there wasn't really a public safety department or anything like that.
Well, the Victorians, same situation.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some parlor games.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first one on the list.
Yeah.
That...
On
my list, that I think is the coolest, and I am definitely trying.
Yeah,
this Christmas.
We totally should.
This whole episode, Tyler.
Yeah,
this stuff, reading into this stuff.
This is what we need to be doing.
I'm sitting here thinking, man, the old Grinch that I am during Christmas time.
You could have been having this much fun this whole time.
There's cool things to Christmas. I'm kind of getting pumped. I'm kind of excited this year.
Great.
So.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, I even helped fluff the tree.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Up until this year.
House?
Oh, yeah. Up until this year, I don't do Christmas trees. I don't touch Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I don't light them.
Yeah.
I don't put ornaments on.
Yeah.
I hate every single minute of it.
Yeah.
I pull it down from the attic for Amber. I may set it up, of course.
Why are you such a sourpuss?
But... unless I'm forced to, I'm not touching the tree. But this year, Tyler, we sat it up. I sat down on the ground. I started fluffing the heck out of that tree.
Dang.
I don't know. It's crazy.
What came over you? The spirit of solstice.
It is. And guess what? I had my AirPods in.
Yeah.
You know what I was listening to? Ghost stories. So this is great. This is great. This is great. So
back to your parlor games.
Back to this.
What are you going to do this year?
This game I am playing this year. Snapdragon.
All right.
Okay. Snapdragon.
How do you set it up?
It is a game that is played on a table. In the middle of the table, they would set a plate. or a dish. And they would cover it with little fruit. Raisins was like the most common. They would put almonds, stuff like that. So they would load this plate with these little goodies. Then they would soak that stuff with brandy. Like just pour brandy over it.
Yeah.
Then turn out the lights.
Okay.
Everybody's sitting around this table. They light that baby up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So light the brandy. These blue flames are flickering, coming up off this plate.
Yeah.
In the middle of this table. And all, you got your kids are all hanging around the table, the adults. And the object of the game is very simple. Put your hand in there and try to grab an almond or a raisin or whatever you're using.
Yeah.
And get it out and eat it before it burns your fingers or your mouth. That's the object of the game.
How do you win?
I think you win if you
don't get burned.
Don't get burned, and you fill your stomach with good treats.
Awesome.
So I'm fascinated by this game.
Yeah.
For how simple it is, but how weird it is. So
Yeah.
I love it. So I did read a little bit into this game, and I did find YouTube videos of people that still like play this. They do play this game,
of course.
And
I mean, you're going to play this game.
It's
so.
interesting.
Yeah.
But the instructions that I'm going to go by this year is put the plate down in the middle of the table. Of course, we're going to take safety precautions so we don't burn our house down.
Yeah, whatever.
We're not going to fry the frozen turkey. I don't want it to be one of those situations. But what they're saying now is to put the stuff on the plate and then you pour brandy on it, let it soak in the brandy. But you're going to take 1/4 of a cup of your brandy and you're going to warm it up on the stove.
Yeah.
And then you're going to pour the warm brandy over what's on the plate and then light it. So it's supposed to be blue flame. And the blue flame... And I don't mean to take this away from oh my gosh, my fingers are going to burn off and stuff like that. But something to do with the alcohol fumes and it being warm and then it's burning off too fast. So when your hands are going in these blue flames,
it's already burnt out.
You're really not getting burnt. So it's like this cool little, it's still hot.
Have you seen those videos of people taking shots that are on fire and they don't blow them out beforehand?
Yeah. Like a flaming Dr. Pepper. Well, that one's extinguished because you drop it in the... Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's like you take a shot of something. I don't have the stuff in front of me, so I'm not going to pretend, but I do know that you have a shot.
A flaming Dr. Pepper.
You light it on fire, and then you drop it into a cup. I don't think it may be Dr. Pepper. But anyways, you drop it in the cup and then you down that baby. Frat style. So anyways, yeah. I'm a lover of cocktails.
Yeah.
And I like to make cocktails.
Yeah.
But those kind of are not in I turn my nose up to those.
Sure, yeah.
They're outside of my realm.
Yeah.
But
look, I'm all about partying, but I mean the same way.
Yeah.
But I cringe every time you order a Crown and Coke, dude. So
right,
whatever.
So,
because I turn my nose up at that.
Yeah.
What are you in high school?
Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, listen, Coke and whiskey is nice.
Let's go back to this parlor game, Snapdragon. Okay. So there's a poem that goes along with playing Snapdragon. It was referenced in a book. Robert Chambers, I think, describes it in one of his books. I was grilling you on whether or not there was music that was supposed to accompany this. You couldn't answer me, and neither could the internet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this poem here. Robert Chambers, Book of Days, 1879. He describes this poem here. Here he comes with flaming bowl. Don't he mean to take his toll? Snip, snap, dragon. Take care you don't take too much. Be not greedy in your clutch. Snip, snap, dragon. With his blue and lapping tongue, many of you will be stung. Snip, snap, dragon. For he snaps at all that comes, snatching at his feast of plums. Snip, snap, dragon. But old Christmas makes him come, though he looks so fee-fa-fum. Snip, snap, dragon. Don't ye fear him, but be bold. Out he goes, his flames are cold. Snip, snap, dragon.
That's great.
You know,
I'm doing every single one of those things.
absolutely. You know, you talking about, not just talking about how to set up the game, but, you know, you're in your parlor. There's no TV. There's none of this stuff. It's just your parlor. It's a table and chairs, a place where people hang out. And you turn down the lights, and you light this blue flame in the center of your table, and that's the game you're playing. It's like, that's magic. You know?
It's great.
So cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like in a pitch dark room and just...
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the whole time I was reading some of that stuff, I'm like, I wonder how many house fires there were. But they did take some precaution, of course.
Mm-hmm.
They would have pails of water or sand next to the table. And
well,
that's how...
And I'd also like to point out, these people used fire as a tool. It wasn't like,
it's not like they
fires.
don't know...
Yeah, fire's this dangerous thing. Of course, fire's this dangerous thing, but they're using it to heat their homes, things like that. Like, fire is a tool.
Yeah.
You know.
Another parlor game for you folks to try at home. For these two that I'm going to mention are actual, like, party, like, all the family
12 or more people
involved. Yeah. Let's get everybody going. The first one was Blind Man's Buff. I thought it was bluff too, but everywhere I read it's buff. But so these objects were really simple.
Of course.
But blindfold one person, and the object of the game was for that person to run around the parlor and try to catch one of the party members.
And are they avoiding the...
Yes.
the
Yeah,
party
they're
member?
doing everything. See, they can see, he can't, and so they can do whatever they want. But once the person that's blindfolded catches one of the party members, they have to guess who it is. And if they do not say the right name, they have to release the person and then keep trying.
Keep trying until they can identify
Until
someone.
they can identify somebody, and then it's their turn.
Yeah.
Innocent fun, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if you want an example of this in a modern movie, the movie with Johnny Depp, Sleepy Hollow, when he first gets to the town, that's the game they're playing.
Yeah, you were saying that. And, man, you also had mentioned something a week ago or 2 weeks ago when we were talking, and I've been wanting to watch that movie again.
You need to watch that movie again.
Because it's been ages since I watched that movie.
What's the plastic in your pocket?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my cigar wrapper. I am so sorry, guys.
You throw that in the trash.
Okay, I got rid of it.
Thank you.
We were talking about Sleepy Hollow. When you kind of started that story off, I thought you were going to say the movie with Sandra Bullock. She's blindfolded. It was like a recent movie.
That one with...
You can't look at what's going on outside, or you'll die.
Bird cage. Bird box.
Yeah, Bird Box. Okay, sorry, we're getting sidetracked again. Sleepy Hollow, that game we're talking about, is depicted in that.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was a popular game.
Yeah.
An innocent game, right?
Good fun.
Good fun.
What do you mean innocent? What do you mean by that? You think?
I mean,
Snapdragon?
What could go wrong?
Oh well, somebody's gonna break their damn neck.
Oh, things go wrong.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Take a person that can't see and have them chase people in these Victorian parlors.
The object is not to get caught.
The object is not to die from furniture. And in the midst of all these people trying to get away from the person, I mean, people are throwing furniture around, or jumping over furniture, and
doing whatever they can.
You can only imagine
Blindfolded
the
tag.
safety
Yeah, of course.
hazards in this game. So, anyways, that was pretty neat. There's another game. It's kind of a version of that game.
Yeah.
This one's called the Bellman. You have one person that is not blindfolded. Everybody else in the party is blindfolded.
Okay.
And the person that is not blindfolded has a bell. and they go around the room ringing the bell, and the people that are blindfolded have to catch the bellman. And you can imagine how that's going to go down.
So does this person like start in one corner of the room, ring the hell out of that bell, and then like run to another part of the room? Or is it like he is moving the whole time ringing this bell, he or she? Do you know?
I don't know, but I would imagine for the sake of the game,
He needs to be ringing it the whole time.
no. I'm the opposite. I think it should be where they can walk around until they get to a point where they want to ring it.
Yeah.
But really, it can be played both ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're going to host the Bellman Sports Final in your house. You can play this game however you want.
Tyler, with the stuff they're putting in the Olympics these days,
But yeah, of course.
you can't roll it out.
Yeah. Bellman's going to be in the next one, the next Winter Olympics.
So I don't really know how my family feels about those two games.
Yeah.
But I have mentioned to my lovely daughter and lovely wife that we are going to be burning our fingers on raisins this year.
Awesome.
Someone did say that actually the raisins soaked in the brandy, after the heat hits them, actually makes them more candied and makes them taste even better. Because I love raisins, so I'm going to say even better.
Yeah.
Some people may be like, I'm not putting my hand in fire for a raisin.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they used other fruits, and I think plums were one of them. And there's an illustration in Alice in Wonderland in Lewis Carroll's book.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to bring his illustration up, you think I would know his name. But one of the illustrations, it looks almost like a dragonfly, but it has a plum head. And it is mentioned in the story when it's describing this thing. And it's in reference to Snapdragon, to the game.
Yeah.
And then I think...
They're just so bored.
What?
They're just so bored.
Oh, man. I thought you said, I'm so bored. And I was like...
No, the Victorians.
Okay. But I think references to this game go as far back to Shakespeare, because there's some reference. I'm not even going to pretend I didn't write that down, but references the Snapdragon, but it's another name. Snapdragon is the most common name for this game. Other names are similar and associated. Those are some games that you can introduce to your Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
Starting this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's get started.
Christmas is around the corner.
And it doesn't have to be Christmas. It can be your solstice party.
Well, are you ready
To talk about ghost stories?
to talk about ghost stories?
So,
Yeah.
my buddy Dustin here, you not being a fan of Christmas, I was like, you know that Christmas song that plays every year? The most
Yeah.
wonderful time of the year. They talk about telling ghost stories in that song. And he's like, what song are you talking about?
I'm kind of embarrassed by this because I'm just like...
Anyway, Andy Williams, I think, popularized this song. I don't know if he was the first one to sing it or whatever. But anyway, my favorite version is Amy Grant.
okay.
But yeah, the lyric is, the song is about the most wonderful time of the year, parties for hosting, marshmallows for roasting, caroling out in the snow, and then scary ghost stories, tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. And I remember specifically asking my dad once, like, why are they telling ghost stories at Christmas time? So in your outline, your theory of, it gets the blood pumping, it keeps them warm.
Yeah.
Like, I love that so much. They're
agree.
bored. They're sitting around the fire and they're bored.
so bored.
They're doing what we're doing right now. I got a little smoke, and they're just telling stories.
That's great.
I just remembered that I wanted to do something before we got here.
Okay.
I'm going to leave all this recording. I'm going to get a beer. I'm going to check on my kid. And I'm going to bring a storybook out here.
Okay.
Let's see if I remember the storybook.
what's funny is he's left this recording, and he's gone in the house, and well, as you heard, he's gonna get some stuff, and I bet he's in the house thinking that I'm just gonna sit out here and puff on my cigar and go over notes for this episode. But I'm not. I'm gonna sit here and talk to you good folks while he gets his beer and ghost story book and checks on the kiddo. Yeah, I mean, what an episode so far, right? I love everything that we've been looking into and getting ready for this Christmas special. And anyways, I just wanted to pass that along. The excitement. It's really funny about this also, and I don't know why I'm whispering, but I am. But Tyler's going to be editing this, and he has no idea that I've been talking this whole time. And so when he comes across this part, he's just gonna want to cut it. So he'll either listen through it and come across this gem that I've left for him, or he's going to hear the part about him going in the house and asking me if I want a beer, and he's probably just gonna be like, okay, yeah, that was dead side, that was what we're cutting out. But man, it's gonna be so great if he actually listens and he hears this whole thing. I can't wait for the text message. That's all I got. I just wanted to talk. Well, the one thing about wintertime is that the heat that you introduce to your cigar, at first it's fine, but as you go into the smoke, on some cigars, not all, the leaf cracks, and so you hear it cracking as you're like smoking, which is kind of cool, but then it's not cool because you're like, fudge, the leaf is gonna start peeling away. But this one is held up pretty good. The darker leaves tend to do better. I have found in colder temperatures, because they're thicker leaves, so I think it's a little harder for them to just crack. I definitely am very cautious when I decide to, especially because I like to smoke them in the morning. But Connecticut shades are very thin, and they do crack badly in cold weather. So just note that if you're going to light one of those bad boys up. And like I said, I like to smoke those like in the mornings, like on a Saturday morning, I like to make my coffee and then go sit out and how'd that go, man?
Great. My kid panicked when he saw me in there.
What was he doing?
He's just playing his video game, but normally when I check on him, it's right before bedtime.
Oh.
And he clearly was not ready for bed.
Has he done his homework?
Oh, yeah, he's doing homework. All right. Sorry for the delay. So we were just getting ready to start the ghost story portion of Victorian Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to go get a beverage. And while you start talking about this first story in your outline, I'm going to look through this book I went to go grab, because I think this story is in this book. And if we have the time...
Oh, we'll have the time.
I can read this story. So, go ahead.
Let's get into the old ghost stories told during the winter solstice. I want to start this off with a story that originates from an 1822 poem by Samuel Rogers. I think it's pronounced, the title of the poem is Genevera. But I could be wrong. I guess I can give a spelling in case you want to look it up yourselves, but it's Ginevra. This poem has inspired different short stories, and it's also been told in song as well. It has two titles because it's been known to have the title basically the same as the poem, but then it's also been known to be The Old Oak Chest. And this was a adaptation by Susan Wallace in 1887. This is the legend of the Mistletoe Bride. And I like this story. When I came across it, I was just like, this is great. This is up my alley. This is so great. Mm-hmm. To summarize it, we have a groom and bride that get married on Christmas Eve. And the wedding party that evening decides to play a game. As we say, they're bored. They're bored as hell.
These people are bored.
So, one of them comes up with, let's play a good old game of hide and seek. We're in this huge house where, all kinds of rooms, crooks and crannies, hide and seek is a great game. The groom is chosen to be it. And the rest of the wedding party and the bride run off while he counts. The bride really uses her noggin on this. Mm-hmm. And she decides that she's going to win this game. Mm-hmm. And what a way to start out a marriage, right?
Yeah.
So she decides to hide in the attic. I think that's great. Because I think in a friendly game of hide and seek in a house of that size, I don't know if I'm really going to be thinking about somebody hiding in the attic, just because it's such a chore to get to the attic in this house. But she was determined, so she goes up into the attic and she looks around for a place to hide, and opportunity strikes when she looks in the corner, and we see an old oak chest. So the lovely bride hops into this chest and closes the lid. She hears a click. And that click is the locking mechanism of the trunk. And she desperately tries to get out of the trunk. So the groom, he goes about in search of all the wedding party and his lovely bride.
We're just assuming she's lovely. We don't know that.
Yeah, she could have been a jerk.
They didn't look real hard, did they?
So after finding everybody in the wedding party with no sign of the bride, there becomes a panic. At first, it's more like, man, she's really good at this game. She could probably give Bigfoot a run for his money.
Sure.
They search deeply throughout the house.
The grounds.
Without any luck of finding the bride. Mm-hmm. This goes on for, I imagine, throughout the evening and into the next day.
How common is it, do you think, for brides to just run out? You think maybe after 10 minutes they were like, no, she just changed her mind?
That's interesting, because I'm like, okay, man, if you have a missing person that was in your house, I think there would be a bigger magnitude. But we do have to ground ourselves and talk. This is a legend. This is a ghost story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without any luck of finding the bride, life goes on, I guess.
For most people.
The groom in the story has been in the house for roughly 50 years. And then they decide to move out. And during the moving process, they are clearing out the attic, and they find the wooden trunk, and they find the missing bride.
Yeah.
So she's called the Mistletoe Bride because apparently she was hanging a mistletoe when they decided to play the game. And so she had it on person. So, of course, it followed her into the trunk. And so when they did find her 50 years later, there, of course, was a mistletoe about what was left. And that sparked the legend of the mistletoe bride. And there's, of course, you know, with any ghost story that's told over the years, there's different adaptations. Like I said, authors have come out with short stories off that poem. Everybody has their own little twist.
When we did our episode talking about ourselves and our influences, I talked about the Scary Stories by Alvin Schwartz. I have here in front of me Scary Stories Treasury, and it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, More Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. I would like to read it to you.
Okay.
The Bride. The minister's daughter had just gotten married. After the wedding ceremony, there was a great feast with music and dancing and contests and games, even old children's games. When they got to playing hide-and-seek, the bride decided to hide in her grandfather's trunk up in the attic. They'll never find me here, she thought. As she was climbing into the trunk, the lid came down and cracked her on the head, and she fell unconscious inside. The lid slammed shut and locked. No one will ever know how long she called for help or how hard she struggled to free herself from that tomb. Everyone in the village searched for her, and they looked almost everywhere, but no one thought of looking in the trunk. After a week, her brand-new bridegroom and all the others gave her up for lost. Years later, a maid went up to the attic looking for something she needed. Maybe it is in the trunk, she thought. She opened it and screamed. There lay the missing bride in her wedding dress, but by then she was only a skeleton.
Oh, my. Did she have mistletoe?
No, but the image that Stephen Gamel, with his amazing graphite magic, has this horrific drawing at the beginning of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
But anyway, when we were talking about that, it's like, I know I've read that story. And I would also like to point out that I have a bookmark in this of SpongeBob. And I cut it out of something. On the back here, it's like, I don't know, maybe it was a box of Valentines or something. AmericanGreetings.com.
Kind of what it looked like was a Valentine's.
American Online Keyword AG. Copyright 2002.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
I like that picture of SpongeBob, too. That's probably why you did it.
Of course, yeah. And I probably needed a bookmark.
Perfect. Well, so like I was saying, though, and I'm glad you shared that. That wasn't planned at all.
This treasury of folklore, I think this is probably what started my interest in folklore.
Yeah.
Because we have a mutual friend, and he was trying to convince me. I don't know if this was middle school or high school, but he was like, yeah, man, this girl, like, she got a spider bite on her face, and like the spider laid eggs in her face, and then spiders hatched from her face. Like, yeah, I've seen that picture in my book of scary stories. I'll bring it and show you. And he's like, no, it's real. And I'm like, no, it's in my book. It's folklore.
No, it happened.
And maybe I'm sure weirder things have happened, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's based in reality. Maybe it wasn't spiders even, but spiders are pretty scary.
Yeah.
For some people.
True.
So, anyway. But the Mistletoe Bride, Solstice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that story is folklore, ghost story, and it's been told millions and millions and millions of times.
We just told it again.
Yep, told it again. Well, we can't go without mentioning a very famous ghost story that I'm pretty sure everybody by now has heard or seen a version of it.
An adaptation.
And that would be The Christmas Carol. Or A Christmas Carol.
Hey, buddy. It's important to me that you get the title right. I work in a bookstore, man.
Are right. And I send my apologies across the table to you.
Accepted.
And a deep apology to our listeners. I will do better. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, 1843. Yeah, the Christmas Carol. Most people by now should know this story. The Muppets did this.
Yeah. Oftentimes I will ask people, do you know who Tiny Tim is? And what I'm asking them is they know who the ukulele falsetto singing performer is. But they
through the tulips.
That's the one. Who I discovered through a SpongeBob cartoon. So, anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
I found him through Insidious. So.
It's episode 1 or 2, and Living in the Sunlight, Dancing in the Moonlight
Oh, yeah?
plays while SpongeBob saves the day at the Krusty Krab. So, yeah, when I say who, Tiny Tim, everybody thinks Christmas Carol. God bless us, everyone.
Yeah. A Christmas Carol, this is a famous story, and a lot of people give credit to Charles Dickens for sparking the ghost tales being told around the winter solstice.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he's somewhat considered the grandfather of ghost stories, but for that time, nowadays, if you're into ghost stories and stuff, and you compare it to other ghost stories, it's, in my opinion, it's weak. I wouldn't really consider, when I think of it, I don't really consider it a ghost story, although it is.
I'm sure people are familiar, but just to recap, there's Scrooge, who's all bah humbugging the holiday season. Money, 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 miser. And, his faithful employee who is exploited. But look at how happy he is. He has nothing except family, and everything is just so wonderful. And Scrooge had a partner in his business, and that business partner comes back as a ghost, and he is tormented with chains in the afterlife because of his terrible ways. And he warned Scrooge, like, this is your fate too, buddy. Yep. So
change your ways.
Yeah, you're getting 3 visitors tonight. Be prepared. And so there's the ghost of Christmas past, ghost of Christmas present, and ghost of Christmas future. The past is, I don't remember the past. It's not very eventful, I guess. But present, we go and check out his exploited worker and his family. And then in future, we essentially see the town celebrating because Scrooge is dead. Like, that guy finally died. Thank you very much. It's the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. And so then we wake up in time for Christmas morning, and we're like, nah, humans are what's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it also speaks to how we, not you and I, but humanity envisioned spirits, ghosts at this time.
Yeah.
When we started this podcast, we talked about the spiritualism movement really pushing spirit communication and stuff like that. And that didn't really kick off until...
Well, the Fox sisters, what they call the birth of spiritualism, was the 1848. So that's when the girls were young and had their first wrappings.
Yeah. So, the point is, this is a ghost story, but ghost was very fluid. It doesn't have the more literal interpretations that we apply to it today.
Yeah.
So, they could have easily been the fairies of Christmas.
Yep.
Past, present, future.
But he does have other ghost stories. And another, one of his well-known stories that's a ghost story is The Signalman. And I do plan on reading that one now that I'm intrigued.
1866.
Yeah. What I'd like to do, and I'm talking to you, Sweet Tea.
I'm listening.
And the listeners, obviously. I wrote down some ghost stories that I like.
Yeah.
I don't want to, if people haven't read them, especially ghost stories, I don't like to take away the mystery and all that good stuff that comes along with ghost stories.
Yeah.
But I do want to give our listeners some of my faves, and then we can talk about some of them or whatever. Just saying the titles and authors and the year
they were published.
Yeah, and then you all can look them up. A lot of them are from the Victorian age. Some of them, well, I wouldn't say recent, but within the last decade. And then some are kind of in between, sprinkled in between. Two of his stories.
I want to ask you a question before you get into this. What year do you think it is right now?
Are we in 24?
2024. None of these that you have listed are in the last decade.
Oh. Well, one of them's right outside of it. Come on. Give me a break.
Sure, yeah.
I don't math.
Close enough.
Come on,
for public
boys.
school.
It wouldn't be a podcast if you weren't a jerk. Nah, just kidding. All right, well, let's run down this list and let me give you stuff that's outside of the within. It's not within the decade. It's outside of
just outside
a decade.
the decade.
Yeah.
This cigar is good. Thanks for bringing it.
You're welcome. Thanks for keeping me on track. Okay, so like I said, we've mentioned two of Charles Dickens' stories, The Signalman and A Christmas Carol. This is another one known to be told around the winter solstice / Christmas time, and this one is The Old Nurse's Story by Elizabeth Gaskell, 1852. We have The Open Door by Charlotte Riddle, 1882. The Phantom Coach by Amelia Edwards, 1864. That's like one of my top faves.
I'm going to jump in here and say that's also an early silent film. They do such interesting special effects.
They do.
In that movie.
Yeah.
It is so cool.
Totally agree.
And before we started recording here, my buddy Dustin over here was like, wish I could just find an easy synopsis to let
You're
people
ratting
know.
me out here.
But that's the thing. Like, the story is an allegory. The coach is essentially death. And it's, a progression of time and looking back on... You know. So it's like, how do you summarize
so
life itself?
Yeah. It was like, I'm sitting here like, where's the old Wikipedias?
Just give me a synopsis.
Just give me like a short paragraph on a synopsis for this thing. And Tyler's over here just has this look on his face, and he's just like, how, man? How? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so The Phantom Coach by Amelia Edwards, 1864. Beautiful story. Funny enough, you're the one that introduced me to that silent film, and I had never read The Phantom Coach. I actually read it later on, and then when I'm reading it, I'm like, man, I feel like I've watched a movie about that. And like Tyler says, that movie is really in an art form. It's beautiful.
It is.
And so The Phantom Carriage is the silent movie.
Yeah.
What year?
1921.
I've actually looked for that and cannot find it.
Criterion.
What did you show me it on?
I have physical media.
Okay. What's that?
I have it on Blu-ray. It's this plastic disc. You put it in a physical thing connected to your TV, and there are no commercials. You just put your disc in there, and you hit play, and it comes up on your TV, and you can pause it, you can go to the bathroom, you can do whatever you need, and you don't have to browse, because all your movies are right there on the shelf, and they're all curated
man. Is
and
it on
artistic
Netflix?
Yeah, when you're done watching whatever...
I may have to borrow that again. Because Amber loves silent films.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's seen that one. I vaguely remember talking to her about it, and I don't think she's ever seen it. So I may have to, if you ever find that, I might need to borrow it.
What do you mean if I ever find it? It's in my house, dude.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways. All right. So moving on. I
got to pack all this shit up soon. I'm going to find all my crap.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, one less item to pack.
I may
let your good buddy borrow it.
Here's the thing. I may have 2 copies of that.
You may have 3 or 4 or maybe even 5.
You're not wrong.
If you're like me that ends up buying 15 copies of my favorite ghost story, which we'll say in a second here. I'm trying to go by not really by the years, but whatever. So
they're in the last decade.
This next one, I'm sure a lot of people have heard. The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, 1898.
You think that's a solstice Christmas story?
I think on some of these, I was really just picking out the ghost stories that I love.
Oh, that you love.
I think just telling a ghost story in general is a great tradition that I'm definitely trying to force upon my family. But
I just think storytelling in general is important.
Yeah. The last few years, I've tried to sprinkle that in. I have good intentions. I have books that I have bought that have tons of stories. But for some reason, it just never works out. But what we have taken on is kind of a modern twist to it. When we decorate the house and the Christmas tree, we watch horror films, and we do watch Christmas-themed horror movies. So we've watched Gremlins. We've watched Krampus. We need to see Black Christmas. That's probably a good one this year. So we have been doing that, and I think that's like a modern twist off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Another popular ghost story that is told around Christmas is a short story, and it was published in 1931 by A.M. Another spelling coming at you right now. B-U-R-R-A-G-E. The title is Smee. So S-M-E-E. I've listened to this story and read this story, and it's a good short one, and it has a nice little twist. So check that one out for sure. So these next three are written by the same author. She has written my favorite book of all time. It has movies. It has TV movies. We've talked about it before. I'm going to probably talk about it in other episodes.
Yeah.
So Miss Susan Hill, she's written many ghost stories and other stories as well. I like her form of writing, but my favorite story by her is The Woman in Black. The book does start out, the very opening is on Christmas Eve before he starts to tell his tale. Mm-hmm. And so I do kind of link it to Christmas as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention two other ghost stories that she's written that I really enjoyed. One is The Small Hand, a ghost story. That one was written in 2010. And then I think it's a short story called Dolly, written in 2012, right outside of a decade. The Woman in Black was actually written my birth year, 1983, so that's cool too. Mm-hmm. But I strongly suggest those three if you like Susan Hill's form of writing. You have any to add?
Favorite ghost stories?
Yeah.
Turn of the Screw is one of my favorite. The whole stories around a campfire for solstice, I don't know, it'd probably have to be a Lovecraft story, probably the Dunwich Horror or something.
Are you upset that I didn't bring any Lovecraft?
No, it's fine. But all of the big events in his books happen around solstice. And I guess it doesn't have to be the winter solstice, but I think it's for the cycle of time, all that stuff. What does this time of year symbolize? It is symbolic death. Everything is going into hibernation. But, we're positive, and we've been through this before, so we know spring's right around the corner. It's just 3 months of this, and then everything will be green again, and it'll be fine. And then it'll be summer, and, then we'll have to do this again next year. Well, the veil will be thin, and we'll have to tell stories around the fire to keep warm. So that's great.
I'm very drawn to these 3 months that you speak of.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people are not, especially here in Oklahoma. A lot of people dislike this cooler weather and dark days. But this is my time. These are my months.
Yeah.
You think it's because I was born in January? You're right. I'm a winter baby, so right up in here. Would you consider me a winter baby if I'm born in winter? Or do you consider, some people are like, well, you're not really a winter baby, you would be more of a summer, into spring type,
I don't know,
since you're in the womb.
How that even, I don't know.
Does it even matter?
Right? I mean, I'm sure it matters.
This is just one of my theories.
On some level, but maybe, sure.
I like to say that I'm a winter baby since I was born in the winter.
You brought up the movies that you've been watching. Like, a form of this is watching the scary flavored Christmas movies. So every Christmas season I make it a point to watch Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is. But have you ever seen Rare Exports?
Yep.
Rare Exports is my favorite
Christmas
that's
a good
movie.
What language is that?
Rare Exports came out in 2010. It's Finnish. Yeah. So these guys, if you haven't watched Rare Exports, it's not within the last decade.
I have no sense of time, Tyler.
Yeah, there's this British team who thinks they found Santa Claus, and so they're going to dig up Santa Claus out here in Lapland. And that has upset the reindeer population, and these families harvest the reindeer, and that's how they sustain themselves through the year, is this sell of harvesting reindeer meat. And something has already slaughtered all the reindeer. There's no reindeer to be had. And so, this is a crisis. And there's a kid who reads all of these Christmas legends about Krampus and Santa Claus. And, Santa Claus is not a good guy. If he's buried in that mountain, he needs to stay in that mountain. And this British team digs up Santa Claus and all of Santa's helpers, the elves. And it is crazy. But anyway, the kid saves the day, and it's wonderful. His stories were right the whole time,
It's actually a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
There is some full frontal male nudity. I would say the average age of those men are probably 65, would you say?
Everybody's beautiful, Tyler.
Everybody's beautiful. Yeah, it's very non-threatening. Everything is very flaccid and floppy. Nothing threatening at all. When it comes to Christmas movies, of course, the internet's obsessed with Die Hard being a Christmas movie. It's
right.
That's a meme now, So, but you mentioned Gremlins. Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
Yep.
Edward Scissorhands, Christmas
that's
movie.
A good one. Yep.
Rare Exports. Obviously, it's about Santa Claus, so it's a Christmas movie. Any movie that happens around the time of Christmas can be a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Over the radio where I work, the theme to Edward Scissorhands plays every now and then. I work with a lot of people who are younger than me. I'm like, hey, do you know this song? And everybody's like, don't tell me. And they can't get it. But it's like, Danny Elfman, Tim Burton, Edward Scissorhands.
Okay. I know this is okay, bear with me, guys. I gotta get this out to Tyler, though. Speaking of Danny Elfman, I saw that they are making a movie off of one of his Ongo Bongo songs.
Oingo Boingo.
Oingo? Is it Oingo?
So this is one of those things.
That's just a trait of mine.
So, you know how I said the spider story earlier with the lady who got bit by a spider and the spider laid eggs in her bite and then they hatched and crawled all over her face. Okay. When I told my buddy, I was like, yeah, I've read that story. I'll bring you the book. I couldn't text him that image. I couldn't text him that picture because this was before digital. This is before we had the search engine right here in front of us. And so when it comes to things where you hear someone mispronounce something, that just means they've read it. They've never heard it said before. They're not watching YouTube videos on how to pronounce whatever, or TikTok's not telling them how to say whatever else. It's yeah, that's Poseidon, Who's ever heard of Poseidon before?
Right.
How's that spelled? What about Oedipus,
This is why he's my best friend, because anybody else would have been like, God, this guy's a moron. But anyways.
No. Heck no.
So you were saying Lovecraft. Are you kind of disappointed that I didn't bring any Edgar Allan Poe up?
No, I don't care. You know how I feel about Edgar Allan Poe.
We know.
Yeah, I know. The listeners know.
I'm going to bring him up. I like the Black Cat. I like the Raven.
Just read his poetry. The H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society has a couple of Christmas albums, and I have tried to get you to listen to them.
I have it. It's not like it's gone. I just
no,
haven't
I understand.
listened to it yet.
But it's popular Christmas musical arrangements with ridiculous lyrics about the solstice. And the first one is A Very Scary Solstice.
Nice.
And I want to tell you the track names. The reason why I was telling it to you is because, your favorite story is Shadow over Innsmouth. That's my favorite H.P. Lovecraft story, too.
It is?
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There is a song called It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like
Why haven't I listened to these?
That's
right.
malarkey.
While he's looking those track names up, I just want to throw this out really quick to get to know your podcasters. Me and Tyler have this ongoing thing since we've been friends that goes back and forth, and it goes kind of like this. Hey, Tyler, check this out. Okay. Next time I talk to him, hey, did you check this out? No, man. And then it goes back to me, too. Like, probably more on my end, because he sends a lot of stuff to me, and I do have good intentions. I just, it takes me a long time.
Look, I know stuff, man.
Yeah, Tyler knows stuff. So a lot of times, the reason it's more on my end is because a lot of times what I'm putting on your plate to check out, you already know about.
I've already seen it, man.
Yeah. And then you tell me 15 other facts that I didn't know about it. So, anyways, but it's good because I learn things.
So here's a couple of these songs. The Great Old Ones Are Coming to Town. Carol of the Old Ones. Freddie the Red-Brained Migo. O Cthulhu Chorus. Do You Fear What I Fear?
I like that one too.
I'm Dreaming of a Dead City. Tentacles. It's the most horrible time of the year. Demon Sultan Azathoth. Have yourself a scary little solstice. Here comes Yog-Sothoth. I saw mommy kissing Yog-Sothoth.
That's a good one.
Migo, we have heard on high. And then Away in a Madhouse, you would love as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But anyway, it's like 20 tracks. And if you buy it direct from their website, they'll send you the songbook as well, so you can sing along with the carols. And then the second album they have is an even scarier solstice. It's all based on his critters or books and stuff like that. And it's great. It's hilarious. Has the holiday season got too happy for you? Here's H.P. Lovecraft's collected works. Check out the horrors that are reality. Anyway.
Like I say, I've never been just not one of those people that's jolly around the jolly time. Except for this year. Like I said, I'm kind of excited on some of this stuff. On my wife's mom's Christmas.
Yeah.
I love it because they have their own little traditions that they do every year. And one of them is like this big tape ball.
Yeah.
Like you just throw these little knickknacks and stuff in this tape ball, and then everybody it's that game, Yeah. Anyways, so we do that every
crazy
year.
Parlor game.
It's fun. I think it's just more because it's fun. It's like
in 200 years, people will be talking about that game.
And the ongoing joke between me and Amber is that I look forward to Christmas every year at her mom's house because I get a new flashlight of some sort.
Oh, okay.
And we have tons of flashlights.
Yeah.
And if our electricity goes out, like Kingfisher's always does, we're loaded, dude.
Awesome.
And I love lights. Who doesn't like?
Yeah, of course.
What grown man doesn't like a good flashlight?
Yeah. And actually, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, like you can look into lumens, the temperatures, the types of power.
Man.
You can spend loads of money on an awesome flashlight.
One year, she gave me a standard flashlight, but it had a magnet at the very end.
Uh-huh.
And I use that every year when I'm grilling.
Oh, sure.
Because sometimes we grill at night.
Yeah.
And I don't have any good lighting on my back porch. So I'll just slap that thing right there and point it on the grill, and I can cook steaks and all that. It's great. So flashlights are great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just got to make sure those batteries are good.
So do you and your little family, are you just at family things when Christmas comes around?
We're at family things
Do you
usually.
do like a Christmas morning type deal, or do you?
We have in the past, just shower the kid with gifts. But he doesn't seem all that into them, so it's more like we'll do a little stocking thing. But It's more of going somewhere for the Christmas experience. There's no place like home for the holidays, but
Yeah.
for my kid, there's no place like mom or dad's home for the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. My bedroom. There's no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did when you were growing up, what kind of gift opener were you? And your siblings, because you have 2 siblings.
I'm
This
real
is interesting.
I'm real nervous about opening gifts in front of people.
Yeah.
I don't like being watched.
Yeah, I don't like when someone hands me a gift and then stands there and wants
Yeah.
you to open it.
Open it. I want to see your reaction,
Right.
and you need to say something about it. And so I have very scripted responses, But no, most of the gifts I get are thoughtful and interesting.
But were you like that? Like when you were a kid, what I mean by an opener, did you like
Just go in there and tear it
go
up.
through your pile and just rip every one of them open and throw them to the side? Or were you like meticulous about it? Or
No, I wasn't careful or anything, but
yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the events I go to there's a whole lot of us. So it's like, everybody hurry up and open their crap, and then
I
we can
get
show
you.
them off
Yeah.
afterwards. So,
There's an ongoing joke on my side of the family. Dad loves to bring it up all the time because he's like, your sister and you are total opposites. And we always have been. We're total opposites in everything. But she would tear through gifts. She'd have this little pile of gifts and she would be like, boom, open, throw it to the side. Boom, open, throw it to the side. And she would be done before I could even get my second gift unwrapped. So Dad thinks that's so hilarious because they would be watching us Christmas morning and Heather would go through all of her gifts.
Yeah.
And then they would look over at me and I'd still be over there like taking the tape off, taking this,
yeah.
And I actually, I look back to those days. I just always been like that. I don't know why. I can't give you like a specific reason of why I'm like that. Like, it's not like I have a reason in my head that I'm all like, well, yeah, I do it to savor the whole experience in the moment.
Yeah.
It's not really like that for me. It's just
Right.
like I've always been kind of slow. Like, it drives Amber nuts because I'm
Whatever.
just so like slow at things. But anyways, I was just curious at how it was when you and your siblings had Christmas morning.
I
if
think
it
we
was-
took turns because it was about watching the expressions and all that stuff.
So your family was more like,
there were rules. You had to
Hey,
behave a
yeah.
certain way.
oh, okay. So ours was just like we ran in the living room and holy shit, look what Santa brought us.
So and at my house, Santa never wrapped gifts, so they were just laying out under our stockings. If there was something big, our stocking was on top of that.
Santa Claus is the same way at our house.
Yeah.
He brings Harlan's gifts that she wants and asks for. When Santa's brought gifts because his are always in the same little pile and they're not wrapped or anything because he don't have time to wrap these gifts. He's throwing them out of a bag.
Of course, yeah.
And then ours are all like wrapped, and stuff like that. So
We do Santa here. He brings necessities and little things. The big stuff is from Mom and Dad.
yeah.
But I don't know. We had a talk about the magic of Christmas 2 Christmases ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kid beat the game. So we had to have that talk. Like, I hope this has been fun.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And that is hilarious.
And
Well, kind of sad too.
yeah,
But,
it's like,
whatever.
this isn't on purpose. A lot of people do this, He has a lot of little cousins, so we had to talk about the Christmas magic, and we gotta keep that alive.
Yeah.
So, we never took our stockings down from last year, so the stockings are still up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Man, I'm one of those like I'm kind of like that, but it's just me being like super lazy.
Sure.
But our house, it's we kind of go for a Victorian-ish. Obviously, people are gonna just get sick of me talking about Victorian stuff all the time. But anyways, our house is kind of on a Victorian-ish style decor.
Yeah.
And
Where'd you put that
I think
death
the
wreath?
vintage Halloween stuff we put up every year needs to stay up
Year
all
round.
the time.
Yeah, of course.
And even some of the vintage Christmas stuff she puts out, I think let's just leave it all up.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
we live there. Who,
Yeah.
you know,
Who are you trying to impress?
yeah, we're not trying to impress anybody. Gosh, we got all kinds of stuff hanging on our walls. There's no rhyme or reason. That's why I love the Victorian age, dude. There's
People just did what they wanted because they were
taxidermy.
bored.
We got photos of people we don't even know.
So, where did you put the death wreath in your house? Where
We
is
have
that?
not hung it yet because
Okay.
I think she's looking for the perfect place,
Uh-huh.
which I think is going to be
Where the
in
TV
our
is.
Well, I think it's going to be in our bedroom. But,
Okay.
But it is a cool piece.
Yeah.
But you know how much crap I gave her
Yeah.
when we were in Eureka.
Oh, yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
She was the talk of the town.
Yeah, she was.
News traveled fast in
Yeah.
that little town.
It's so funny because I remember being up in some shop all by myself. I was like, I sold some death wreath today. Like,
Yeah,
My
and then they
friend
get
bought
on the
that.
horn and it's already like...
yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, she's really been into that stuff lately. She's been looking for, like, I guess they even, and I'm not shocked by this, but they had, like, jewelry, pendants, and
Yeah.
brooches, and they had rings that had loved ones' hair or pictures or just something that would remind them of,
Yeah.
of their loved ones. And so Amber, she actually has a ring, and then she bought some little brooch that that has a guy's hair in it and his name's engraved on the back, and it's from the 18. It's cool. It's so cool. Stuff like that. When I put it in my hands, it's hard to explain to people.
Yeah.
The feeling that you get holding somebody's stuff and knowing that it's from the 1800s.
Yeah.
This thing is from the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like coins. You get those coins. I have coins that are from the 1800s.
Yeah.
And when I hold them, I'm like, okay, it's just a coin, right?
Sure.
But imagine
Somebody
all the
then.
people that had that in their hands.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's chances that famous people had that in their hands.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
my seance or my books on spiritualism.
Yeah.
Those books could have been in anybody's parlor while a seance was going
Yeah.
on.
Awesome.
So
Yep.
it's just,
It's fun to think
I
about.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ready to wrap this thing up?
Man, I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about. I'm satisfied,
Great.
and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it. As much as me. I really enjoyed this,
Yeah.
and I enjoy every episode we do, even the ones that I don't know as much as you know about. I hope this one didn't bore you.
No.
But
I don't know anything.
dude, you know everything. Like, you retain everything. I sit over here and go, I had to go through my outline just to remind myself of stuff I want to talk about.
I want you to know that after I got my oil changed at your fine establishment,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
and one of my dad's coworkers had brought 2 decorative plates, collectible plates that her mother had. And she just asked my dad, she was like, did you see those plates? He said, I saw they were decorative, but I haven't looked at them. Well, I get up and go look at them, and they are Virgin Mary apparition plates. And she says, I've got I think she said she had 12 of them. I can't remember. I think she was 12. But I went and looked at them, and I was like, oh my God. Like, it was Our Lady of Guadalupe, and then there was Our Lady of Lourdes. And I was like, I'm into this stuff. And she was like, who's gonna, like, what are these worth? And I looked them up. You can get those plates on eBay and stuff like that, $12, you know. I've tried to sell some decorative plates at where I work, and you know, they've got like values of $75, but I can't sell them for $20, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had them for months. But anyway, my dad was like, you should donate those to one of the Catholic churches, you know. But my dad wandered off, and I was like, hey, if you can't get a Catholic church to take those, I'll buy those from you, because I am into this stuff. And she's like, why are you into this? And I was like, because Blessed Virgin Mary apparitions go into like fairy lore and alien lore and stuff like that. And this is not to offend anyone, but you know, there are BVM apparitions, which is Blessed Virgin Mary, and that's not to be confused with the BHM apparitions, which are the big hairy monsters. But it's going with this whole theme of superstition and mythology and folklore, and how human experience colors, these unusual things that happen. It's all of these things tend to have the same messages. So it's interesting. And, I said, I want those. She's like, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, I don't know. I've got bookshelves. They'd look great lined up on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go into all the Catholic iconography I've got that I had my spare room decorated in until Max was born. And then I took all that stuff down because of the way the room was set up, it was easier when he was a kid for us to be in that room. So anyway, somewhere I'm going to have a religious shrine to put all this religious stuff I've acquired. But anyway, interesting stuff.
Yep.
That's related to things I'm into, but not what its purpose is, not its mainstream.
We'll be posting some pictures.
We will.
I have some pretty cool pictures I've found that kind of touch on most of the stuff we've talked about tonight. So that'll be up on Instagram at some point. Check us out on Instagram.
Yeah.
So we got other episode pictures. And anyways, it's so cool. And rate us. Comment. Send us emails. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we need to work on.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt our feelings.
You may.
Maybe, yeah. Don't talk about me, please. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
Another good evening. Did you like your Stillwell star?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yep. Fabulous.
Smoked good.
Yep.
Christmassy.
Down to the nub here.
Anything else? You good? We good?
I think we're good.
Yeah. So that was us going through the prairie smoke. Catch you on the next one.
Yep. Play us off.
Play us off.
Little gathering round, the firelights glow on this longest night as the cold winds blow. The solstice is here, let the revels begin. The veil is thin and the spirits grin. We play at Snapdragon flames leap high. Watch the raisins from fire as shadows fly. With whispers of magic, the parlor takes flight through tales of the hunt that rides tonight. Oh, the wild hunt rides through the winter sky. With frostbitten hooves and a banshee's cry. We sing to the dark, to the fire's embrace. A solstice revel in this haunted space. In the flickering glow, ghost stories unfold of sailors and maidens, of treasures and gold. The parlor grows still as the spirits appear. Their laughter and wails, both distant and near. Cards exchanged with a curious delight. Dead birds painted on a strange Yuletide sight. Their meaning's a riddle, their message unclear. A token of loss or a wish for next year. Oh, the wild hunt rides through the winter sky. With frostbitten hooves and a banshee's cry. We sing to the dark, to the fire's embrace. A solstice revel in this haunted space. The screen flickers softly, a modern charade. Christmas films and rites in traditions remain. A sacrifice small to the gods of delight, to keep out the cold on this longest night. So dead she brave in the shadows long, for the solstice moon casts her silver But here in the parlor with games